Welcome back, folks, to FlashPoint Weekend Update. Now for this week, the main headline is the release of the Primo Victoria Strv-81. So the full reveal, the surprise model, the hype, the music, the collaboration, yada 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 yada. But there are a few other smaller yet interesting info that got leaked this week. So let's take a look. Now Gamescom is coming up next week, and it is one of the biggest events, video game events for Europe. So we should expect a lot of stuff to be revealed during this event, the full week-long gathering, I guess, but it's like their E3. So last year we got the full reveal of the Swedish vehicles, the Swedish tank destroyers to the S-tank, and the heavy tanks to the Kranwagen, and the medium tanks as well, but Wargaming never done that before. A full reveal of all the vehicles 4 months before the full release? That's never happened before, so yeah, we should expect a lot of stuff, a lot of preview during Gamescom next week. So Wargaming will participate with Sabaton, the musical guest, I guess, but also Akira Yamaoka. So if you don't know him, he is an audio wizard. He is the guy who's responsible and composer of all the Silent Hill audio tracks, most of the Silent Hill audio tracks. So the metallic screeching, the moaning of the body bag dudes, and the awesome music, that's him. He is a god, so mad respect for that guy, but he is going to collaborate with Wargaming to make a few audio tracks for the game. So yeah, I would like to see what's going to happen with that, but very excited for the collaboration. So holy crap, he's a wizard. Yeah, too bad Konami drove in like Kojima and yeah, Yamaoka to like dirt. They just toss away Silent Hill, they tossed away Metal Gear like nothing. Holy crap. They want to make mobile games. Stupid. So yeah, mad respect for that guy. But there are old rumors that the Tiger 217 should be on sale during or right after Gamescom. And this is kind of wonky now because we have the Primo Victoria, so I doubt the 217 will steal the spotlight from the Primo Victoria during the event, so who knows. And patch 9.20 should arrive on August 29th or 30th, and a week later for the Asian servers. So, as predicted, but I thought it was during the middle of August, like before Gamescom. It's not, so a little bit behind schedule. Yeah, whatever. But we're also waiting on patch 9.20.1, and that's the second half of the buffs and nerfs and other stuff, mostly buffs. So on the buff side, on the SuperTest server, tier 10 light tanks received a small but significant buff. So they received the alpha buff for most of the vehicles and an ammo count buff. So here you can see the new DPM on the bottom, but surprisingly, the Romtail Panzerwagen, the Spähpanzer 57, somewhat nerfed. I mean, it's more accurate on the move. It's faster to reload and faster to aim, but has less alpha for the shells. So DPM got slightly decreased, but why? Why are you nerfing? Look at the Shuriken. It has 2650 alpha or DPM now with for about 400 alpha, so it's more like a medium tank now. Why would you nerf the Panzerwagen? Also, what's funny is the AMX 13105 received an increase of 3 rounds for the 105. This vehicle carries 33 shells with the same alpha as the Batchat 25T. Not as much penetration, but it carries 3 more rounds. It weighs about 13 tons, AMX 13 in the name, but it's like half the weight of the Batchat 25T, and yet it carries 3 more rounds. Impossible spaces. Can we just get an ammo count buff for the Batchat to like maybe 34? 38? Wait, it's in 5s. Divisible by 5s. So 35? 40? 35 would be good. Yeah, 35 would be good. One more clip of the 105, but yeah, the light tank has more rounds than the medium. Half the size. Alright, so we're going to have the T71 CMCD as a new Tier 7 American light tank, replacing the share branch for the T71 DA, Detroit Arsenal. So this vehicle is made by Cadillac Motor Car Division. So there are two T71s, one's with the frontal normal sloped hull, and one's with the pike-shaped hull. That's on the DA version, Detroit Arsenal version, but one is a conventional turret, not an oscillating turret, and the other one is an oscillating turret with the autoloader, yada yada. So basically they nerfed the penetration by 30mm, they nerfed the view range by 10, they switched the traverse for the hull and turret around, and that's pretty much it. So I mean, the view range is still very good. 390 for a tier 7. I mean, based on the average now, that's still pretty good. But the penetration, I mean, the average pen of tier 7 is about that. So I don't know. It's originally going to be a premium, but now it's a normal tank. So also, what's disappointing is that there's no share line, so you cannot jump between the medium tanks to the light tanks or back and forth. So that's kind of disappointing. Maybe they will change it during the actual release, but for now, there's no linkage between the light tanks to the heavy tanks from different lines. So originally you can jump from the Bulldog to the T69 or back and forth, other stuff, but now, yeah, there's no share lines, so be aware of that. So also, the Canada Jagdpanzer received a 105mm, so it's a little bit better, actually a lot better than the 90mm, so increased penetration by 30, a lot better high explosive anti-tank round. So originally it's AP, now it's APCR, but originally the high explosive anti-tank round has only 12 more millimeters of pen. It's not even worth it because it doesn't get the normalization value as the AP shell. So the gold shell for the Canada Jagdpanzer with a 90mm is actually garbage. It does have a pretty decent high explosive round. Maybe it's a HEP shell. Maybe, but now it's not as good in penetration but higher alpha. So it gets 105. All the guns, dispersion, accuracy, all the stuff are the same. Longer reload time obviously, but slightly less DPM. So this is basically a German version of the AMX Canada Assault 105, or for the Swedish Strv S1. So we're going to see a lot of tank destroyers with fixed mounted guns with 105s at tier 8. So can we have the Tiger 2's 105 on the Jagdtiger 88? That would be a little bit better for the Jagdtiger, but then again, it gets preferential matchmaking, so kinda overkill. Or if you give the Leopard 1's L7 to the Jagdtiger 88, that would be overkill. A little bit overkill. So yeah, this vehicle has been in the gutters for a long time, so I would like to see some sort of buff, but a lot of players are worried that if they're going to get this new gun, would they get the new tank, or would they get the old tank and a compensation, or would they get some sort of refund or whatever? So we don't know yet. This is one of the first time a premium tank that gets a new gun out of the blue. So I mean, there have been buffs to the penetration, the alpha on premium tanks like the Super Pershing, for example, and that was a fiasco of refunds and gold and other stuff, but it doesn't normally happen. So I would like to see what's the actual compensation, but yeah, it's a lot better gun, especially to the nerf with ISU. Keep bringing that up, but the highest penetration of tier 8 tank destroyer should be the Strv S1 with 288. The ISU BL10 is 289 or something. So yeah, 268 is not bad. It's very good for a tier 8 tank destroyer. So here are some miscellaneous stuff. North American server have the West and East servers merge into one. So I experienced it. It's not that bad. I mean, it's the same stuff. So the servers got shifted from Washington DC to Chicago on the east side, and from California to Chicago. So basically merge into the center, but my ping is like 5 milliseconds to 10 milliseconds better. It's not that much, so whatever. But let me know on the West Coast server, on the West server, how you guys think about the new servers in Chicago, because there are a few conflicting tales. Some say it's good, some say it's bad. There might be a few more optimization in the future, so we don't know yet. So let me know below. Also, there are new crew and commander audio for the Polish female crew, as well as for the Sabaton's Primo Victoria. So it's interesting because the Primo Victoria gets a lot of stuff, like exclusive crew members based on the band members of the band, as well as their own lead singer singing or saying the stuff as a commander will, as well as a bunch of Easter eggs in the turret. So they have their album covers, a few of their album covers in the turret. That's a mouthful, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff done for the Primo Victoria. Like a lot compared to vehicles like the Sherman Fury Easy 8. I mean, we don't get Brad Pitt or Shia LaBeouf as the gunner, so yeah, we don't have that. We don't have their audio for their crew voices. I guess Wargaming doesn't have the rights to Brad Pitt's face. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff done for the Primo. A lot. Also on the console version for World of Tanks, there's a new mode called War Stories. So it's like a single player / co-op story mode. And it's like alternative history. So what if the Germans invaded Britain during World War II? Or what if the Berlin Wall collapsed? Actually, like, the battle started, not collapsed, but you know what I mean. So what if the Russians started war with the Allies in 1948 for the Berlin and Germany? Or what if the Bay of Pigs actually escalated towards actual warfare? So yeah, very interesting, but I'm thinking it should be a little bit better than facing bots. Otherwise, it would just be like random battle mode with bots. So hopefully there will be like cinematic explosion, Michael Bay the fuck out of it. That's the saying. So hopefully there's some sort of like super cinematic, like theatrical feel to it. Otherwise, you'll just be playing with bots, like 2 players versus 10 bots or 15 bots. It gets kind of boring without a like trigger factor or grab you, intensify factor. For example, I'm thinking like after you face off like 5 bots, you need to kill a P-1000 rat or something. That would be pretty sweet. Or you shoot down helicopters or try to survive a nuke explosion or something. Yeah, that would be pretty awesome. Michael Bay the crap out of it. So we'll see, but it arrives on August 22nd. So expect to look forward to that if you have a console. Also, for World of Tanks Blitz, the T49 has come with ATGM capabilities. So it's currently being tested, but it is the actual usage of the gun launcher, the 152. So yeah, it is a yellow-trailed missile, the Shalaya, but it's the first time that Wargaming is using a missile-based system as a ammo category. But don't be too hyped just yet. I mean, there's a lot of factors with ATGM. So currently, with the initial stats, it has 185 millimeters of pen for high explosive anti-tank and 85 for high explosive, but 560 alpha, 750 for the high explosive. So it's mostly like a somewhat good penetration, average penetration high explosive anti-tank shell, premium shell, but normally for the Shalaya, it's able to penetrate 390mm of rolled homogeneous steel armor, 390mm of pin for the high explosive anti-tank shape charge in the missile warhead. It got shaved down to 185. What? So would you want historical accuracy or would you want balance? Because if you want balance, it's alright. I mean, it's not that interesting. I mean, it's supposed to be, but whatever. But if you want the historical accuracy, this thing just melts mouses or Type 5s if it was going to be put onto the live server. 390mm of auto-guided or your mouse-guided infrared-based missile system, and you have more view range than most of the heavy tanks, supposedly, for high tier lights. About 400 compared to like 400. Well, it's about the same. Oh no, that factor. But you have more camo, so you will outspot the mouse, but you will fire a missile at the mouse. You will likely penetrate with 390mm of pen, and you'll run away with like 560 alpha or 750, depends on the balancing, but Jesus. Yeah, historical accuracy or balance, one of the which, but it's supposed to be like, this is meant to kill all rolled homogeneous steel armor. That was the point of it during the 1960s, 1970s. That was the point. Otherwise, why would you have that thing, right? So, yeah, vehicles back then are starting to have composite armor to defeat shape charge. So that's the counterbalance, but we don't have composite armor. We just have a bunch of butter to be melted through with missiles. So yeah, don't be too hyped about this system. So it's very interesting, but based on the current balancing, yeah, it's 185. What a joke. Alrighty, but on the trailer, I'll show you guys. I'll put all the trailer leaked info in the description below. Can't even talk, but you can take a look for all the stuff. But during the video, there's this vehicle. So it looks like the Leopard 1 initially. I thought that's a Leopard 1. That looks like a Leopard 2, some sort of Leopard 2 from the back because of the raised engine deck and the flat turret. So I thought, this is not a Leopard 1. It's more like a Leopard 2. There's no Leopard 2 in Blitz. Alright, so I took a look a little bit more. At the front, it's a round flat turret and a slightly unsloped frontal hull. That's the MBT-70. That's the grandfather to the Abrams and the Leopard 2s. This thing has a 152 gun launcher thing as well. It could also fire the Shalaya as well. So, what? Next, you know, you'll have the M60A2 Starship in the game. It's just like, whoa! Wow, this is a really good surprise. I mean, Easter egg. But what the hell is this thing? MBT's. This thing has composite armor. If I remember correctly, this thing has composite armor to defeat like shape charge. It has a longer barrel gun launcher, 152. It's meant to fire conventional rounds like high explosive anti-tank or AP rounds or AP fin stabilized rounds or missiles, but this is actually more modern day vehicle, quote unquote. So yeah, go take a look. Link in the description below. So here are a few more skins as usual. So Milkyman has made a new skin for the T-34 and revised his FE-4202 battle hardened version of the vehicle. Pretty awesome. And here is the arm brace T57 Heavy. So pretty awesome looking too. It needs a gun sleeve. Every vehicle needs a gun sleeve. Gun sleeve the vehicle model. Jesus. But it looks very awesome. Like 350 calibers for the turret. More machine guns. Needs more machine guns. Here is Professor's Strv S1. He added the reactive armor that's on the Strv 103D to the vehicle. So that's the reactive armor package for the S-Tank. A little bit more modern, but it doesn't mean anything. It's not there, so cosmetic. And here is another Game of Thrones skin. So this is Cersei, Lannister's Batchat 155-58. So tier 10 artillery, but isn't she like antagonist? Or one of the bad guys? I don't know, but the White Walker is like the zombie dudes, but I do not watch Game of Thrones. I don't know what the hell the plot is about, but it seems like the good guys are Daenerys and Jon Snow, and she's like one of the bad dudes. I don't even know. So fighting stuff, chains and dragons and nudity and sex or all the stuff. I don't know, but it does look pretty cool. So bling bling, yes. And finally, the community question for this week is there a place for ATGM in PC version for World of Tanks? So basically, you deal a lot of damage if it's based on historical accuracy with the penetration, and the alpha, it's 152mm rocket or missile, and you can track it with your mouse because it's infrared or tube launched, optically tracked, wire guided. So we don't know yet, but whatever. But yeah, basically meaning you'll melt like all the tanks in the game, 390mm of pen with a missile, and that's default shell, that's not premium. So basically, look at a mouse, fire a missile, deal like 750 alpha, you run away. I mean, the shell velocity, the missile velocity is like 350 meters per second, so it's very slow, but you're guiding it, and you can curve and do fun stuff, and barrel rolls. But yeah, it's a new can of worms, but this will keep like those mouses or Type 5s in check. Actually just kills all of them without hesitation, unless it's a city map or something. But it's I mean, high power. It's really high power in terms of penetration. Otherwise you will balance it with like crappy penetration. Oh, it's a prototype shell for the Shalaya. It has only like 200mm of pen. What if you don't pin? You have to wait like 20 seconds to reload. Ugh. I don't know, it might be fun. I mean, it will feel like a neuter version of the actual thing if they're going for the balance. If they're going for the authentic historical accuracy, Jesus Christ. It will penetrate everything, and no need for heavy tanks. Just history will repeat itself with the design aspect of super heavy tanks. Useless. You get picked off from a distance, especially on the 30 versus 30, the frontline mode. Yeah, basically missiles across the freaking map. You get wrecked. Oh, T95, you think you're a tough? Freaking missile. It doesn't drop in penetration. High explosive anti-tank shells don't lose penetration over distance. It's a shape charge. So let me know what you think. But here are some questions from the community. So Sam, what tank do you think needs to be nerfed the most right now in patch 9.20? Well, in 9.20 the mouse gets a nerf, so it's more fair now. I mean, doesn't have to be like, oh, I just charge in and DPM people. It has a lot more DPM than the actual average of heavy tanks, most of the heavy tanks. So I think mouse before 9.20 is like one of the best OP, if you will, heavy tanks. You just do whatever the hell you want. Just slope a little bit and you have a lot more health. But after 9.20, which is the most OP vehicles? I mean, still the premiums needs a nerf, but Wargaming doesn't nerf premiums, the tier 8 premiums. Most OP vehicles. I would say like vehicles that have almost impenetrable turret and gun depression, likely the Kranwagen, but Kranwagen has been in the game for like almost a year now, so I mean, if you know what to do. But a lot of the vehicles, a lot of the medium tanks have super strong turrets now, and they're very hard to kill. If they're played well, there's no weak spot, and therefore you have to circle strafe or flank around them. But they're mediums, they can just readjust. So basically, if you don't have a weak spot, if you know what to do, the tank is pretty good, mostly. So next question, why do you not want the return of the Waffentrager off E100. When it was being removed, it seems like you don't want it to go away. Kind of a weird, contradicting question. I do want it back, but I do not want it back if there's a condition to it, like personal missions, or you have to buy it. No. If you're bringing this vehicle back, if you're bringing the Waffentrager off E100 back, it better be free for all vehicles or all players who already have the Grill 15 in their garage originally. So why bring it back? I don't know. It might be nostalgia, maybe, but I don't like flip-floppers mostly. I mean, you're telling us not to bring this back, you're bringing it back, so mixed messages, guys. Mixed messages. What's your view on the current medium armor creep after the previous general gun penetration creep? In this endless cycle of creeping each other. The creep. A lot of the turrets are very strong now, like the Centurions, like the Patents, the AMX-30, surprisingly, even though it has a cupola weak spot. But there are a few vehicles like the Leopard, like the T-34-100, the TVP VTU. Oh my god. Those need a buff, but it seems like Wargaming is buffing vehicles that are popular, or at least somewhat popular, I guess. This leads to the next question. So what do you think about the T62A buff and the Object 140 compared to the Object 430 and the Object 416 and the Object 430 version number 2? Those doesn't get touched as much as the more popular ones, obviously. So it's mostly because of Russian. The Russian server is a lot bigger than the North American server, a lot bigger than the EU server, a little bit. And they like Russian tanks. They prefer to have Russian tanks buffed, but it's mostly the popular tanks, mostly. So it's going off of trend. So you don't see the buff. You don't see the buffs to the T34-2, the T34-100, the TVP VTU. What else? What else? Medium tank that's super horrendously garbage. I mean, originally the Indian Panzer was kind of crap, like 2.9 seconds of aim time. Ugh. But they buffed it, so it's a little bit workable now. But I see nobody playing it. So I see nobody playing the original Centurion or the T69. Nobody plays that anymore. I don't know why. It's still a very good tank. Just there's a learning curve with autoloaders, but still nobody plays it. So I don't know, but it seems like Wargaming is going to buff popular vehicles and buff other tanks. An endless cycle of jokes because Wargaming balancing department. What a joke. And finally, there's a tank that's somewhat similar to the Indian Vickers main battle tank. So it's the Vickers MBT. It's basically a Centurion with the L7, modified L7, and the fire control system of the Chieftain. A little bit better engine, I think. And they sometimes added reactive armor or explosive reactive armor to the front, I think. But would you think it's a good idea to add this as a Clan Wars or a premium special tier 10? Well, we have the M60, we have the 121B. So those are somewhat modifications of actual in-game vehicles, whereas there are some other mediums that's more special, like the Object 907. So for the Vickers main battle tank, I mean, you already have the Centurion Action X, so you're competing with the Centurion Action X as an alternative tier 10 medium, but for the Brits, supposedly. But it doesn't feel special enough to me. I mean, what do you bring to the table? I mean, unless you have like amazing DPM or some sort of artificial soft stat buff or like intangible stat buff, we don't know. But it needs to bring something different. Like, what if it carries a L1A1 from the Chieftain? That would be cool. Like a medium tank with a heavy tank gun. That's more like the M60 hybrid. The M48 hybrid. I forgot what the name was. It's a T95 turret. Wait. It's a hybrid tank M60 A2 / T123E6/T54 E2's turret. So that's the thing. It's a 120mm on a patent's hull and a T54's E2's turret, the conventional turret. So that's a heavy tank gun on a medium tank, and it's different than the medium tank's counterpart for that nation, the US. I don't know. So I mean, I'm more looking forward towards like ATGMs or something crazy. Maybe the MBT-70, who knows, but yep, that's FlashPoint for this week. So leave your questions below. I'll try to answer them next week. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.